Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Around the Piano. And we've got an exciting one for you today. We're going to tell you about it and introduce our guest in just a few minutes. But I'm Tim Paul, your host for today, and Nick Moltrop, our producer, back behind the camera today. How you doing, Nick?
Doing good, doing good. It's Malthop.
Yeah, Malthop.
Malthop. But I just say Malthop now because
no
one seems to get it ever.
Well, so. I haven't butchered anybody's last name today.
Yeah. So
now it was time. We would do. Yeah. Yep. Of course, I had to get yours. I'm just calling you Nico from now on, and that's what we'll go with.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Well, the show today is again brought to you by our sponsor, Piano Trends Music here in Crystal Lake, and also. The store that does a little bit of everything with lessons and repairs, servicing, and sales and rentals of all instruments. So stop by Piano Trends Music in Crystal Lake when you get a chance. You'll be glad you did, just to chat a little music. And also, we want to mention the Rouse Center for the Arts in Crystal Lake because our special guest today is going to be performing there, and we're going to tell you about that. But the Rouse Center is located downtown Crystal Lake, the historic theater, beautiful theater. And I wear another hat down there because I'm still the board president down at the Rouse Center for the Arts. And so many great shows, and we do a lot of kids shows. We do a lot of shows like that for the kids. We just finished up Joseph last week at the Rouse Center, which played to rave reviews, and all the kids in town got a chance to be on stage. It was great, and it coincided with the classes at the Rouse Center for the kids. So they do several weeks of classes before the show, and then they put on this big production, and it's really nice. But coming up, we've got some great shows, including Bohemian Queen, which will be there on Friday, March 20th. It's an 8 p.m. show. And our special guest today is Paulie Z, who plays Freddie Mercury in the show. Welcome, Paulie. Thank you for being with us today.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Doing terrific. So this is great. We're so looking forward. I believe this is the first time you've played the Rouse Center. But you've been doing the Bohemian Queen for quite a while, as I understand.
Yeah, since, we got together in 2020, right before the pandemic. So we got together, we had a band, we're ready, and we're like, oh, we can't do anything.
Right.
So for about a year and a half, in a way, it was a good thing because for a year and a half, we just rehearsed. So believe it or not, and we worked on the show. I got my costumes all custom made. We planned out everything. So by the time we played our very first show in June of 2021, which is 18 months later, it was like we were playing for years. People couldn't believe it was our first show. We were so tight because all we did was rehearse.
Yeah. So it was kind of it turned out to be a benefit in this case, being able to put all that rehearsal time into effect ahead of actually going out on the road with the show.
Yeah, because we would have had, it takes time to get the chemistry and to tighten things up. So we would have had a handful of shows. And in this day and age too, like, with social media, you can't hide anything. Everyone's got a camera. Right. Everyone's is putting it on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, whatever. So, those first handful of shows might have been not as tight. It still would have been good, but maybe not as tight. And it would have, who knows how that could have affected us. But we came out of the gate, like just, again, as if we were playing for 10 years. It was so tight. And that was just because we had that rehearsal. So you got to, I've learned to look at the silver lining in every situation. That's the way I try to be in my life.
Well, the positive outlook, and, performing Queen is not just the music. That's the biggest part, of course, but the stage presence and the costume changes, that all has to be, you've taken all that into account to put on the real deal.
Yeah, I dove into the deep end. Well, I'll tell you why. When we decided to do it, I knew that we had stiff competition. It wasn't like we were first to the market. We're like, ooh, we're gonna be the first Queen tribute band. There are, first of all, now, since the movie came out, there are a ton. I mean, it is almost oversaturated. There are tons of Queen tribute bands. But at the time, there were a handful, I'd say, that were great, that are still great that have been doing it for years. So, you know, you come out and you're like, well, we got to compete with this. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way we can compete. So I said, well, instead of trying to go head to head and competing, let's do our own thing. Let's find our own voice and do something unique. So at the very least, it's a breath of fresh air and it gives people options as opposed to saying, you know, it's just an alternative to these great bands. And one of the main things was the costumes. I insisted, I actually had to convince my band at first. They were, I think, a little iffy because, you know, if you're not, if it's not pulled off correctly, it could be borderline cheesy, you know, or it can maybe not fall flat. And I knew I had a lot of experience doing this kind of stuff. I've done Rocky Horror Picture Show. I was in an 80s band with my wife and did multiple costume changes. I was in a Kiss tribute band. Like, so I knew that this was my forte. And I said, guys, you got to trust me. Like, this will separate us, especially because I do the 70s look and there is not a single Queen band. And I will take you out for a steak dinner if you can find me one Queen band on the planet other than us that actually does the 70s Freddie look, because all the other guys have a real mustache, so you can't do it. Sometimes they'll wear the Harlequin unitard, but with a mustache, right? But if you look at the 70s, to me, it's actually when they were the coolest. He was, you know, he had no facial hair, right? He had like, you know, like blush on his cheeks. He had the dark eyeliner. He had long hair. He had the wings. I mean, it was so cool, so dramatic, so theatrical. Nobody does it. So I said, if we do that, and then I go through kind of chronologically all these different costume changes. You know, I dress in drag when we do I Want to Break Free, for example, you know, all the fun stuff. I said, that'll separate us. That'll make us unique. And the other thing we decided from day one was I wasn't going to impersonate Freddie or even try to pretend to be British or try to like make people like think that they're seeing Freddie. And I tell the crowd right off the bat, like on the third song, I was like, look, we are not trying to be Queen. He and I are nothing alike. I'm from New York City. You know, I'm taller than him. I'm wider than him, which is different people. And
you
people
got a different accent.
Completely. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Hey, we will rock you. All right. Forget about it. We're going to rock you. We're going to rock your ass. All right. And the thing is, what happens is it breaks the ice and people are like, oh, okay. And then I get to be me. So when I'm up there, even though I'm dressed as Freddie, I'm still me. And I get to be me. I get to make jokes. I get to sing the way I sing. And I'm not trying to impersonate someone. And I think those elements really helped separate us because we have our own thing. And now it's like we can coexist with all these other great Queen tribute bands. And now people have options. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. And I find that fascinating because people are coming. They're coming to hear that music. They know they're not coming and they're not going to see Freddie Mercury on that stage, but they want to hear the music. They want to remember it because it evokes memories to everybody that's there. And I can tell you from someone who enjoyed Queen more in the 70s than I did the 80s, even because that was my era of, with the music. It does make a difference. You're building an experience by the way that you're promoting and doing this show. It's a theatrical production.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like a hybrid. And it's funny you said that, like you connected with them more in the 70s, right? And I'm too young to have connected with them at all, right? Like, because by the time I was, listening to music, whatever, they were ready. He already passed, right? So I had to go back, and I know the Live Aid stuff, and I know the mustache stuff, and had to go backwards. But most of the musician friends that I have that are older that grew up in the 70s, or even my dad, right? For example, like the 70s Queen was really, if you think about it, the bigger Queen, right? That's when Bohemian Rhapsody and We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions, before he got the mustache. But most of the public know the mustache visually, at least, right? So I just feel like when people see me come out with those bat wings, they go crazy, and again, it's like you say, it's an experience. Like I try to connect with them as a fan on a human level, and then they wind up connecting to us, like who we are, not like, oh, that guy is trying to be Brian May or that guy's trying to be Freddie. No, we're not. We're just being us, and having a good time, and it really works. It makes a big difference, I think.
I think it does. So when you're doing the show, are you doing the songs in order, kind of in order of
Yeah.
the history and the timeline with it then?
Yes, and that was one of the struggles I had with the band. Because like, wait, oh, let's open up with the, with the one. I said no, we can't because that was the '80s. He had a mustache. He's like,
Yeah.
oh man, they got really mad at me because it's very limiting in that sense because you can't do, for example, Another One Bites the Dust, with a Harlequin outfit, right? You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do the '70s stuff later, obviously, because in the '80s they did all the old stuff, but you can't reverse it. So anything
Right.
like from like 80 on, we can't do early in the set. And it took us a while, to be honest with you, it took a while to kind of craft the set, not only
Sure.
musically, but also with the breaks for costume changes. In the very beginning, there were like really long, awkward moments of me changing in the back and you know what I mean? And them vamping on like the intro of a song. And I remember that was pretty awkward. And then little by little, we would tweak it. We say, okay, you know what?
Sure.
Let's do a little medley, or we'll have a guitar solo, or we'll do blah, blah, blah. And now it's almost borderline theatrical because there's a flow to it. It's not just song after song.
Well, you're creating a rhythm to the show and the audience picks up on that for sure.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
Yes. And it took a while. It took time. It took time to figure that out,
Well, anything worthwhile usually does, that's just it. Are there any particular Queen songs, as we're talking about the songs there, that you've noticed where the crowd reaction surprises you?
Oh, surprises. Okay. Well, one song, and I'm the first to admit, I wasn't a Queen fanatic when we started the band. I had their greatest hits. I knew most of their big songs, but like to me, when you're a fan, you have everything, right? So like bands like Kiss, Alice Cooper, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, bands like that, I had every record, right? Judas Priest, I knew all the good songs and even the bad songs, right? And then there were bands that I liked, but I would get, let's say, the greatest hits, right? And so I didn't know, there were some songs that I didn't know. And the guys gave me a hard time. They're like, how, you never heard this song? Like Love of My Life. I've never heard that song.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy? I never heard it. And they were like, you never heard Love of My Life. So I listened to it and they're like, you're going to love it. And I did. And so, and that one, we do the live version with the guitar as opposed to the piano. And I would say maybe that one, because I didn't know what to expect, because it's so beautiful. And what was one of my favorites to do, funny, ironically, since I didn't know it, because it allowed me to really sing. Like when I was up there, it felt like I was, like a crooner. I get to actually use my technique and sing and not have to perform and do all the moves, just my voice. And it connected. I always dedicated it to our families, to my wife, and our everyone's wives or girlfriends, because of like the support that they give us to allow us to do what we do. We're away from home a lot.
Absolutely.
And so I think even that dedication, there was a beautiful element to that. And I think the reaction I saw, some people like would cry and say it reminded them of their, spouse that just passed away. I think that one I was surprised at how powerful it really was for people.
Yeah, that's a fascinating answer too. And that's, it's real because you're touching people in that audience, and that's definitely proof in the pudding when you get that kind of a reaction from something. But
yes,
you get a song like that, and you like you said, you can put your own emotion into it, and it plays well for sure.
Yeah, and again, that goes part of like not pretending to be someone else. I try to do, if we're connecting it to our reality,
sure.
Right? Then they're going to connect, because we all have the same, right? We all have love, we all have loss, we have, joy, we have sadness. I mean, these emotions that are universal. So if we're connecting and say this song is dedicated to whatever, blah, 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 they're going to connect, they're going to feel it more than if I'm just going up there and I'm, performing and being like a tribute band, to the traditional sense of like, hey, we're just going to perform the songs. Well, I'm really trying to, process the music internally and then kind of give it back with our, not spin, because we're playing it just like the record, but with our own emotional footprint on it, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes a lot of sense. Music is not just about listening. When music is about feeling, And when you get the audience to feel the music rather than just listening to it, you're doing a service to the industry. And
Yeah.
performing the music of Freddie Mercury obviously is no small task. And there's obviously, like you said, there's so many tribute bands out there trying to do that. But what was your journey like in learning how to approach Freddie's vocals?
Well, so okay, there's two things. So there's technique and then style, right? So technique wise, it was, and I don't want to come off like cocky or anything, but it's actually not that hard for me to sing his stuff. Believe it or not, people are like, oh my God, it's so difficult. And if I have good, really, really good training, years of training, and I teach vocals professionally, so my technique is really strong. And you know, the stuff that's hard to sing is Journey, Chris Cornell. There's other bands I'm in that are actually hard to sing. Yeah, Journey's I think the hardest. Freddie's, because his range, it's not always up there. He has moments, but you know, like Crazy Little Thing Called Love, another one Bites the Dust, is much lower, right? So it's not like you're constantly in that mixed range. So technically it wasn't super difficult. I just had to like learn it, right? There were little things like that I find Freddieisms, for example, where on a vowel, not to get too technical, but usually you would stay on the first part of a vowel, right? So like when he goes show must go on and he says show, like show, right? You would normally, like Paul Rogers would stay on the O part, right? Show, and at the end you finish the vowel. He does this all the time. He'll go to the second half of the vowel. It's the diphthong, where you have two sides of the vowel. Yeah, I'm getting too technical, but he'll go show, which is really not technically proper technique, but it makes it sound. Yeah, so he'll go show, and he'll close the vowel into, you know, or like ow, and he'll do the fast vibratos, and so little things. I'm like, that's wrong, but it sounds great.
Right.
You know, so I had to pick up on these little things that he did. Plus, he has a very bright and highly placed tone. So, for example, when Paul Rogers sang with Queen, you know, and you hear him sing the same songs, it's completely different in the tonality and the resonance. So I had to get into that brighter, you know what I mean?
Brighter level,
down, yeah. I want to break free. You know, versus Paul Rogers, I want to break free. You know what I mean? Like little things like that on the technical side. But then the style side, it was really about, like, you know, he'll be like, bites the dust, things like that, fast vibratos. Just I had to really study how he sang and how he moved. And he has a flamboyance to him. He has like a macho flamboyance, if dare I say. There's like this androgynous kind of like femininity, but with a macho-ness that he'll still kick your butt. You know, he'll kick your butt while wearing a tutu, if that makes sense.
That's a good way of putting it. You're exactly right. Yeah.
And you know, it's funny because that character comes naturally to me, because I told you I did Rocky Horror Picture Show a few times as Frankenfurter. I was in a Kiss tribute band with Paul Stanley. Those characters have that similar vibe. There's this kind of like macho androgyny to them. You know what I mean? It's like, come over here, honey, I'll kick your ass, you know?
You're drawing a little bit from each character to tie it together. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it came much more naturally than I thought. Again, because I wasn't an uber Queen fan, I didn't realize how sort of natural it was until I did it. And then people were like, wow, you're really good at that. And I was like, not too shabby. Maybe I should explore this more.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because obviously that's obviously one of the challenges that you had to face in putting those and bringing it all together. What would you say is the biggest challenge you had in building Bohemian Queen?
I think the show.
October.
No, I think the show flow. To be honest with you, I really think that was very challenging. It was very challenging to find a flow that allowed me to do the kind of show I wanted to do. Like because the costumes and the chronologic element of it, the chronology, was limiting, but I really wanted to do it that way. It took some time, and I think it was challenging to find a flow that felt right.
Sure.
You know, and which costumes to do and how many songs to do them with. And I'm still to this day, I mean, you know, I'm still tweaking. Like it took me 3 years to find the right wristband because all the red, white, and blue wristbands you can buy anywhere online or in the store are all horizontal. His were vertical. Now, does anybody notice that? Would you notice that? Even the Uber Queen fan? Probably not. But I do. I noticed that his were vertical, and it took me years to find someone on Etsy who finally had one, and I got it. And so little things like that, I'm constantly tweaking,
Right.
and you know what I mean, to get those details. And the show flow is very important because you don't want to lull ever. You really don't want anyone to feel like that lull in energy. So I think that was the most challenging, was to put our show together to match the chronological aspect of it and the costuming, you know, and even just a quick change. I had to learn how to layer stuff. Like, you know, I mean, putting on a mustache in like, 3 minutes, changing a full costume and then putting on a fake mustache. It's not easy.
And keeping it straight. And when you have to do that.
Yeah. And you learn how to lay things out. You know, I layer stuff. I learned how to like just do things fast, but that took time. You know, it really took time to master that.
Oh, I love that because I've seen many times where the attention to detail isn't there and things fall flat. But when you cover all the details like you're describing, the show becomes a real show. It becomes something that people are going to remember and be talking about for a long time afterwards.
Yeah, I agree. And also to your effect, to what you were saying before about the experience, like I always choose passion over perfection too. Like I have a very, very high bar. Anyone who knows me knows my bar is high, but it's never to be perfect. Like my bar is never perfection. It's impossible. Like, and actually, I think the pursuit of perfection actually can, in some ways, derail passion. Like, you know, if you're so focused on perfection, you actually lose some of the beauty in human error and in spontaneity. And that's why I don't play to tracks. I hate tracks. That's why I like to go off book. You know what I mean? I make, jokes that or stage banter that's just, spur of the moment, you know, because I feel that's what keeps you present. And you know what? If you make a mistake or there's a little train wreck here and there, it's okay as long as the passion and energy is there. And
it's, I think very okay. And people remember that and they respect people for that because you don't try for perfection. You just try for better. You just get better and better and better. You never go for perfection. That puts too much pressure on anybody to do that.
And it's not realistic, and even if you get it, and look, honestly, even if you get it, I mean, there were a lot of prog bands I listened to as a kid and they were perfect, and you hear singers all the time on American Idol or session people that just perfect pitch, right? Like perfectly guitar players that play their lick perfectly, right? And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that, but I didn't feel anything. So what's more important? Art, art is to, like you said, it's to feel something. So I feel like that's very important, but the attention to detail in my opinion, allows you to make those errors or like to have that imperfection and not derail the show. That's kind of my thing. Like you can make a mistake, if Michael Jordan shot an air ball, like, no, it's okay. You know what I mean?
I don't believe he ever did though.
No, but if he did,
yeah, he did.
If he made a mistake or whatever, like, it's one of those things, like if you're a straight A student and then you just get like 1 D, it doesn't ruin your average. So that's why right. It's like, it's okay to mess up. It's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes, but you want your average to be as high as possible, to offset those.
Exactly.
Right. So.
Well, that's great. And I agree with you 100%. It's a great philosophy. Paulie, we're going to take just a little break here to get a word from our sponsor. When we come back, I want to talk about the NAMM show a little bit, that you put together a jam show. And I want to talk about your brother and what you've done for music with your brother, the journey that you created. So we'll be right back.
Okay.
Looking for more than just a piano? Discover the complete music experience at Piano Trends Music Company. Yes, they're known for exceptional grand and upright pianos, but that's just the beginning. Piano Trends Music also offers band and orchestra instruments, guitars, violins, digital keyboards, and everything musicians and students need to grow and perform. Getting ready for school band? Picking up a guitar for the first time? Maybe upgrading your instrument? The experienced team at Piano Trends Music will help you find the perfect fit. Plus, with professional repairs, rentals, and private music lessons all under one roof, Piano Trends Music is your trusted hometown music partner. Visit Piano Trends Music Company in Crystal Lake, pianotrends.com, where music begins and every instrument has a story. Hey, welcome back. Around the piano, we're here with Paulie Z, and his tribute band, Bohemian Queen, is quite the experience. It's not just the music of Queen, it's the experience of Queen, and it's going to be at the Rouse Center for the Arts right here in Crystal Lake, Friday, March 20th at 7 p.m. No, I think it's an 8 p.m. show. 8 p.m. show. And I believe the QR code up there goes right to the ticket. Does it go into Rouse Center, or is that going to Paulie's? Goes to Paulie's website up there, so you can go there. But you can go to rousecenter.org to get tickets for this show. And I guarantee you don't want to miss it. Who knows when the next time Paulie Z will be back in town. We hope more than once. But you want to catch this show Friday, March 7th at 8 p.m. at the Rouse Center with Paulie Z.
March 20th.
March 20th. What did I say?
March 7th. So we'd have to go back 7th. In time. We'd have to get the time machine from Back to the Future and a flux capacitor. And it's a lot of work to go back.
A lot of work. But if you pay attention to the details, it should come off. It was a great show, by the way. So I enjoyed it tremendously. But we'll repeat it on the 20th. But anyway, so we've been talking about Bohemian Queen a lot, and we're going to definitely want to do a little more talk about that before we sign off today. But we just missed each other at the NAMM show. I know we were talking, I forget your manager's name, but we were talking with him at the show.
Steve Sprite.
Steve, yeah. Steve was very kind, and we went back and forth trying to arrange getting together, and our schedules just never meshed. But tell us what you were doing at the recent NAMM show in Anaheim.
Oh my God!
I was together quite a show.
Yeah, well, that was so it was, for those that don't know, it was a jam, an all-star jam night. It was the fifth one that I've done at NAMM. The first three were at the Hilton right up until COVID, and then last year we resumed it, and it was at the arena, and then this year we did it at the arena again. So this was the fifth one, and it's basically an all-star jam. This year it was called Jam Night, so it's the first of the new branding. But prior to that, it was called Ultimate Jam Night, which is a jam that I did at the Whiskey A Go Go in West Hollywood for about 7.5 years, every Tuesday night, if you can imagine that, for 7.5 years, every week, averaging about 50 to 60 musicians each show. Yeah, it was intense.
That is intense.
Yeah, so this was like these shows are kind of like the Super Bowl of jams. You know what I mean? Like this is like the biggest, the top named artist. And we had guys like Nuno Betancourt, Corey Glover, Alex Skolnick, Joel Hoekstra. I'm trying to think offhand, like just Corey Feldman showed up and sang with us last minute. And just it was 3 hours of a curated jam where I put people together that haven't played with each other. And, the drummer, from Stephen Perkins, the drummer from Jane's Addiction, is playing with, Doug Aldrich, from Whitesnake. And maybe they know each other, maybe they don't. And then the theme was celebrating musical milestones of the past year of 2025. So obviously we did tributes to Ozzy, we did tributes to Ace Frehley, we did we did songs from bands, artists that were nominated into the that got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so like Bad Company, Cyndi Lauper, 50th anniversaries of albums, stuff like that, and then I put
Yeah.
them together, I curate it, I host it, and then I sing like, a third of it. I think I sang nine songs out of the 25. And in the middle, I did my Queen band, Bohemian Queen, did a short mini set of the Live Aid set,
Okay.
an edited
Oh,
version of the Live Aid set. Yeah. And that was really
wow.
cool because it
That's
was the 40th anniversary of Live Aid.
Oh, that's fascinating. I'm sorry that we missed that. We were there and we had other appointments set up at that time, but we're going to make sure that we catch you next year if you do the same thing next year.
I think, yeah, it looks like they want to do it yearly.
Yeah,
Whether it'll be at the
good.
arena or not, I don't know. But yeah, it's just too good not to. It brings people
Right.
together. It's a wonderful event.
Well, the beautiful thing I think about the NAMM show is you're bringing together the entire industry. You've got the musicians, you've got the vendors, the manufacturers, everybody's there, retailers. It's people think of the music industry as a huge business and industry, and it is, but it's also very small. Everybody pretty much knows everybody or knows of everybody. And when you get together, it's like Namely, instead of family.
I never heard that, but that's great. I like
Yeah. So it's always a blast. And I give a lot of credit to NAMM for helping our businesses. And it's always, we've been going to that show now for almost 40 years. So we've seen it grow and grow and grow. And it's made a great comeback since COVID because it didn't happen for a while after that. And as you well know. But so we'll see you for sure next year's show. We'll do something in person there for sure. But I wanted to take a left turn here, and I want you to tell me about the beginning and why it means so much to you. You and your brother started a music charity to promote music and music education. And I want you to tell us about that. Tell us that story because it's fascinating and it's important.
Well, and also NAMM, the Jam Night was sponsored by the David Z Foundation, and RCF, which is the company that produces it, puts it together. They're the reason we have it. Always supports the foundation because the guy Tarek, who's the guy who puts it all together, he knew my brother, so he always ties it in, and we've raised a good amount of money through the Jam Night, so it's a nice segue. Well, basically, my brother and I, we were in bands together. The band that we were most known for was ZO2. It was a power trio out of Brooklyn, New York. But also by day, we did children's music. I got him into it later on, but I had just started doing kids' music classes and parties and events, and I was just really good at it. Brought him in. And we, as the Z Brothers, we got really successful. I mean, we were the biggest children's entertainers in New York. I mean, we did De Niro's Kids Party a couple of years in a row. I did Michael J. Fox's Kids Party, and then I was Michael J. Fox's guitar teacher for about a year and a half.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, like we were the big artists for that genre. Yeah. And then at some point, I won't go into the details, but we were able to we got our own TV show. Someone who saw the two worlds and was like, we got to do something about this. So we had a TV show called Z Rock, and we did 2 seasons of that. And there were a lot of celebrities on that. Joan Rivers was a regular, Dave Navarro, Dee Snider, Gilbert Gottfried. I mean, just a bunch of people. And I wanted to capitalize. Basically, I wanted to capitalize on that success because, as you know, success is very transactional and it comes and goes. You can be hot one day and then the next day you're not. And I knew that. And I was like, I don't know if this will last. I hope. But if it doesn't, at the very least, I want to capitalize on these relationships. And so I started a podcast and I did that, the Paulie Z Show. And then I started this nonprofit called Rock Asylum Foundation. And my brother, and it was more my brainchild and more my thing, but my brother helped me develop it, helped me run the programs. And what we did was we started by just doing raising money for kids' concerts, but then it morphed into a program where we were writing music with kids in schools about academic subjects and then recording it professionally, making a music video. So kind of like Schoolhouse Rock, but
Right.
but at a professional level. Like if the, like if the Foo Fighters wrote a song and made a video, or if Bruno Mars did it. It wasn't goofy and it wasn't syrupy. It was like real commercial quality music. And it went over really well. I mean, not only were the songs catchy and the production really high quality, but the kids, we tested them, the kids actually learned better through that mnemonic device of melody. If you had to remember the different steps of the scientific method, which was our first song, we literally tested them before the song and then after, and the results were incredible. Even for me to this day, I remember stuff that I have no business remembering because I know the melody,
That's fascinating. Yeah, but I can see where that works. Absolutely.
Or just like commercials, like advertising. So we started leaning into that and doing a lot of that. But then I had, 2010 was like a dark year for me. Like everything kind of went downhill, and I had to move to LA and start fresh. Started doing my solo stuff. So, I put the foundation to the side and I said, this is something that is dear to my heart, but I'll do it later. Maybe when I'm like 60 and, or 70 or whatever, I'll do this later. So I kept the 501c3 status. For those that don't know, that's the official nonprofit status.
Sure.
Very, very hard and very expensive to get. So I wasn't going to lose it. I just paid the dues every year. I didn't do anything. And then in 2017, David was touring with a band called Adrenaline Mob, and there was an accident in Florida, and he was killed in that crash. And it was all over the news. And as you can imagine, that was the worst day of my life, and changed everything for my family and I. Not only because it was a tragic loss of my brother, but he was a very, like anyone who knew David, he was a very special person. There are people that you meet that are just special. He was like a unicorn. He was special. And he was also my best friend. He was my bandmate. So it wasn't just a sibling. It was more than that. We were as close as two human beings could be without the intimacy, right? Like my wife is the only person I could say would be closer because of that,
Right.
So that was very, very difficult. And something inside me just said, okay, I want to do something in his memory. And people were saying, are you raising money for funeral costs or for anything like that, which is pretty standard, right? Like, let us know if we can do it, whatever. And we really didn't need that. So I said, well, let me raise some money for kids in his name. And that's how it started. I was like, well, let's see. And then I think the first year, like I did some random GoFundMe and it was $25,000, just like that. I was like, whoa. So I started a permanent endowment at his school, Brooklyn College, where he went, which is still there, funding music programming under his name. I said, well, let me try this again next year. And so I did another one, and I did a Facebook event, and then 35,000, then 45,000. And then I got all these celebrities sending in videos and testimonials. And then all of a sudden we're getting schools and, not only locally, but then I started going around the country and then internationally. Now we're doing programs in South Africa, Malaysia, Argentina, Hong Kong. I mean, unbelievable. And it spiraled. And so when I started doing it, I said, you know what? I think this is a sign that I should resurrect the foundation, but I'm going to change the name. So I changed it to the David Z Foundation. And we've been going strong ever since. And I was telling you those, like, it's blurry, but I have 15 of various different awards. Not for rock and roll, which I always thought as a kid I would have the Grammy for best rock, male vocalist or whatever. For educational music videos.
Those are more important. Those are more important than any of that. Absolutely.
Yeah. I just you never know what path life is going to take it. Like if you would ask me this years ago, I would have never said, oh yeah, I'll be a CEO of a nonprofit traveling the world, making, videos with kids and changing lives that way. I just had this vision of like, he and I wanted to be rock stars in a certain way. And I've learned to kind of let go of that and realize, the word rock star is that's a very general word. And, when you change a kid's life, you know, by through music or, you know, or just even just a good hug. Sometimes they just need a good, strong
Right.
hug. You know,
There's
that's
more
a different kind of
value
rock.
in that than any cheering you get from a rock and
Yeah.
roll career on stage, for
It's a
sure.
different rock star. Yeah, it's a different. And
Yeah.
so I'm very blessed that I get both. See, I'm in a unique position. I'm super blessed because I get both. I
You
get the
do.
stage stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I get to go on the stage and get the, we love you. I get that, and then I get the, you know, I just did 11 preschool music classes this morning before I got here. So
That's
just to give you an idea of my
fantastic. Yeah.
day. Yeah, and then I
That's
got 3
awesome.
Queen shows this week, and then 3 Queen shows this weekend in Texas. That's my life.
That's so fascinating. That's wonderful. I says, and you know, both are obviously paying off for you. If someone wants to get involved or get more information or make a donation to the David Z Foundation, where do they go to?
davidzfoundation.org.
Okay.
Yeah, and the best thing to do is if they click on the YouTube link, there's a promo video. It's about 10 minutes, but it's really informative. It tells the story and it shows all the programs, and then you'll see all the videos we've done with the kids, and
Yeah.
the NAM and videos from last year's NAM event, because we do a lot of benefit concerts, real concerts, you know, like that NAM event that you missed. That was, again, sponsored by the foundation, so they allow us to put all the videos on our page. So we get a lot of views and a lot of traffic because people want to see Nuno, right? Or people want to see
Sure.
Corey Glover or whatever. And guess what? Corey Glover did a video with us with a 4th grade in Flatbush, Brooklyn, which won 3 awards already. So when he comes up and sings, you know, a Sabbath song at NAM, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, but we also did this video with these 4th graders last year. Check it out. That combination is what I'm kind of going for. I'm trying to tie in, because it's my life, right? I'm trying to tie in the rock world with the education world seamlessly, you know?
Oh, that's just awesome. I admire you for doing that, and especially in the memory of your brother. I think it's a legacy that's good. It's obviously will go on well beyond you as well, I believe. So that it's really I admire people who put that first above everything else in their own careers. It's a wonderful thing.
Thank you. And I got to be honest with you too, just so everyone understands.
Yeah.
There is a selfish, if dare I say, selfish side too, but it's therapy for me too. Like it's like at the end of the day, it's my outlet. Like it's very important, because I don't know, if I didn't have something to put those emotions into, I don't know, you know, it could have been something else. I'm not an addictive person, but I can see how people can go to alcohol or drugs or something. I would have probably overeaten because I'm a foodie, so I would be 400
well,
pounds
you know,
right now.
a grieving process, there's no time stamp on it. It takes as long as it takes, and sometimes it continues forever. And having an outlet where you're honoring the person that you're grieving that's the therapy. That's the therapy right there.
It is.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you know what? Thank you for being with us today, Paulie. This has been wonderful. I hope we can do this again sometime. We're looking forward to seeing you at the Rouse Center, and on March 20th at 8 p.m. I got it.
Yeah. Wait, no, March 20th, 1989. No, just kidding.
That's right. Well, now that you know Michael J. Fox, you probably can travel back in time,
yeah,
right?
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. I
true.
just call him up. Hey, Michael, remember me?
That's right.
That DeLorean.
We are definitely going to get together at the NAMM show next year. We want to sit down and talk with you live in person. That would be terrific. Let's definitely try to make time for each other.
It's just about a schedule. I remember him even trying to schedule it, but it's you can't imagine how I'm trying to document it, because it's really hard to explain how stressful it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To put these things together. So the day of is really tricky, but I think if we can we should definitely make a point to meet and talk.
Yeah, we definitely will do that. And if we can do anything to help you out with that jam night, because the fact that you're doing it for your brother and for the David Z Foundation, if we can help out in some way with that, we'd be glad to help out with that too. You just let us know. We'll have our whole team there. Nick will be there with us, and we'll have our whole team there. If we can help in any way, you let us know.
I will. All right.
All right. Well, thank you for being with us. I want to thank everybody for being with us on Around the Piano again today. A wonderful guest, Paulie Z. And again, he's going to be at the Rouse Center for the Arts on March 20th at 8 p.m.
Oh my God.
26. I got to mess with people's minds. That's how I do things around here. Smile, be kind, and keep on keeping on, everybody.